Today is February 28th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It's a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today we're going to be reading out of the Big Book, The Pioneers of AA number 3, pages 184 through 186. And out of the 12 and 12, we're going to be reading a little bit more out of Step 7, the first part of page 76. With all that, my friends, let's get right to it. Alright guys, so if you recall from yesterday's reading, our AA friend number 3, Bill Dotson, he talks about his childhood and how nothing dramatic really happened. He just loved the drink when he first got it, and I'm glad that was mentioned, that it doesn't have to be something absolutely traumatic for us to become alcoholics or anything like that. He also talks about how his life is becoming unmanageable. On page 184 it says, "As time went on, my drinking became progressively worse. I'd be away from my office 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Horrible days and nights when I would lie on the floor of my home and reach over to get the bottle, take a drink, and then go back into oblivion." So we can definitely see that his life's becoming unmanageable here. So we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday on 184. We're going to be reading 2 pages today. During the first 6 months of 1935, I was hospitalized 8 times for intoxication and shackled to the bed 2 or 3 days before I even knew where I was. On June 26, 1935, I came into the hospital, and to say that I was discouraged is to put it mildly. Each of the 7 times that I had left this hospital in the previous 6 months, I had come out fully determined in my own mind that I would not get drunk again for at least 6 or 8 months. It hadn't worked out that way, and I didn't know what the matter was. I didn't know what to do. I was moved into another room that morning, and there was my wife. I thought to myself, well, she's going to tell me that this is the end. And I certainly couldn't blame her. And I did not intend to justify myself. She told me that she had been talking to a couple of fellows about drinking. I resented this much, until she informed me that they were a couple of drunks just as I was. Well, that wasn't so bad, to tell it to another drunk. She said, "You are gonna quit." That was worth a lot, even though I didn't believe it. Then she told me that these 2 drunks that she'd been talking to had a plan whereby they thought that they could quit drinking, and part of that plan was that they'd tell it to another drunk. This was going to help them to stay sober. All the other people who had talked to me wanted to help me, and my pride prevented me from listening to them, and caused only resentment on my part. But I felt I'd be a real stinker if I didn't listen to a couple of fellows for a short time, if that could cure them. My wife also told me that I could not pay them, even if I wanted to, and had the money, which I didn't. They came in and began to give me instructions in the program that later became known as Alcoholics Anonymous. There was not much of it at the time. I looked up, and there were 2 great big fellows, over 6 foot tall, very likable looking. I knew afterwards that the 2 who came in were Bill W. and Dr. Bob. Before very long, we began to relate some incidents of our drinking, and pretty soon, I realized that both of them knew what they were talking about. Because you can see things and smell things when you're drunk that you can't other times. If I had thought they didn't know what they were talking about, I wouldn't have been willing to talk to them at all. After a while, Bill said, "Well, now you've been talking a good long time. Let me talk for a minute or 2. So, after hearing some more of my story, he turned around and said to the doc, I don't think he knew I heard him, but I did. He said, "Well, I believe he's worth saving and working on." And they said to me, "Do you want to quit drinking? It's none of our business about your drinking. We're not up here trying to take any of your rights or privileges away from you, but we have a program whereby we think that we can stay sober. Part of that program is that we take it to someone else who needs it and wants it. Now, if you don't want it, we'll not take up your time. We'll be going and looking for somebody else." All right, great stuff there, guys. Cannot wait to talk about that in just a minute. So in the last reading of the 12 and 12 about step 7, which is humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Of course, we have been talking for a great deal about humility and what that is. And I really like the line from yesterday. During the process of learning more about humility, the most profound result of all was the change in our attitude toward God. So with that, we'll go ahead and begin page 76. We're going to read the first paragraph today. As we approach the actual taking of step 7, it might be well if we AAs inquire once more just what our deeper objectives are. Each of us would like to live at peace with himself and with his fellows. We would like to be assured that the grace of God can do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. We have seen that character defects based upon short-sighted or unworthy desires are the obstacles that block our path towards these objectives. We now clearly see that we've been making unreasonable demands upon ourselves, upon others, and upon God. All right, while this is fresh, boy, that's the truth. We've seen that character defects based upon short-sighted or unworthy desires are the obstacles that block our path towards these objectives. I know anytime I am leaning on my character defects, at least for me, I'm fearful, selfish, but the biggest thing is the peace goes away. When I daily, and for me it's very much daily, have to give these character defects up to my higher power, and I go, okay, God, I can't do this myself, but you can. The peace begins to return. But that's just me. But that's what this reading made me think of today. I love that last line. We now clearly see that we have been making unreasonable demands upon ourselves. I've done that. Expectations. Our expectations are inversely proportional to our serenity. And when I have high expectations and I'm putting myself up to these expectations that nobody can live up to, if I put somebody else up to expectations nobody else could live up to, I'm going to be disappointed. My serenity goes away. All right, so if I have zero expectations and accept life on life's terms, I seem a whole lot happier. Go figure. But again, that's just me. Everyone's a little different, but I can certainly relate to today's reading. Going back to the big book real quick. So this is the second person that said that when they talk to another drunk, all of a sudden they go, wow, they know what they're talking about. So Dr. Bob said it in his nightmare when he was first talking to Bill. And now Dr. Bob and Bill are talking to Bill Dotson here, and he's thinking the same thing. I think that's really funny and interesting. I really like Bill Dotson's outlook here too. It says here, at first he was a little apprehensive, but it says, but I felt as if I would be a real stinker if I did not listen to a couple of fellows for a short time, if it would cure them. So he's not, at first he's not even really doing it for himself, it seems here. He's going, okay, if this will help them, I'll listen to them. And in the process of listening to them, he realizes, oh my goodness, these guys know what they're talking about. And I really like what Bill says here. Bill and Dr. Bob, they don't go preaching to the guy. And I love that. Has anyone else shut down when somebody starts preaching at you? I have. I've been there. Don't get me wrong. Accountability is wonderful. But when you're being preached at, it's maybe not the best way to try to help somebody at times. But anyways, I like what Bill says here. It says, do you want to quit drinking? He flat out asked Bill Dotson, hey, do you want to quit? It's none of our business about your drinking. We're not up here trying to take any of your rights or privileges away from you. So right there, this is Bill Dotson's choice. Bill W. says, but we have a program whereby we think we can stay sober. Part of that program is that we take it to somebody else who needs it and wants it. Right there, who needs it and wants it. My friends, there was a long time where I needed it, but I wasn't ready to want it yet. I didn't want to be sober yet. And then there was finally the time where I wanted it. And that's when I hit my bottom for now. I hesitate to say rock bottom because I've always heard that you can always dig a little deeper. My last bottom, I guess you could say, I wanted it desperately. I needed help. And finally, I made the choice to do something about it. And thank God I've had some people take me under their wing and help me here and do the same thing that Bill W. is saying to Bill Dotson. Bill W., he says, now, if you don't want it, we'll not take up your time. We'll be going and looking for somebody else. So that wasn't going to stop Bill W. on his mission. He's going to help somebody. They have to help somebody in order to stay sober. But also he asked Bill Dotson, look, if you don't want this, we're not going to take up any more of your time. We understand, and we'll help somebody else. A friend of mine used to say, don't go chasing people who don't want it. They have to choose for themselves. And I might get in the way of their recovery if I were to do something like that, because they'll never admit to themselves if I'm the one that's trying to do all the work. And that really resonated with me. But anyways, guys, that's all we have for today. I'm just thrilled, honored, and it really is a joy to be here. I don't speak on behalf of AA or any other sect. I am just a friend in recovery and absolutely love these two books. And this has really helped with my own accountability. But again, it's amazing to know that I'm not alone here. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.